Throughout my career, I've been actively working with computers and electronics. And now with the F77, we have taken that to a whole new level. What I personally find very interesting is when multiple technical fields come together to solve very hard, challenging problems. It all started in the early 2000s for me, where we started working with lithium-ion batteries, lithium polymer batteries back at university. And these were the times where it was actually really hard to source some of these things because we would have to, get friends and family from other countries to bring these things along. Back then, we worked on several types of robots, vehicles, and aircrafts, and this involved several streams of engineering, from mechanical engineering, computer science, electronics, and that's where it really started for me. A few years later, in 2008, my career started in the tech industry, but my fascination for drones and hardware continued. On the side, I was always working on flight stabilization, working with flight controllers, working on extending flight times for drones. And these were the problems that sort of kept me up at night. At some point, I sort of realized that this was more interesting than my day-to-day work. And that's when I decided to take a break from work and pursue this project full-time. And this was kind of my first startup, working with drones and flight controller software, which brings me to what we have here today. This motorcycle, the F77, has a vehicle control unit that functions as the core control module for the vehicle, very similar to flight controllers on the drones that I used to work on over 10 years ago. And this is something we've been perfecting over the last 5 years. Come over, let me show you. And this is how the F77 looks from the inside. What we have here is the vehicle control unit, the VCU as we call it. This houses all of the radios, the microcontrollers, the microprocessors, the IMUs, and all of the subsystems that are running inside here are safety critical. In fact, there's been a lot of attention on EVs and battery packs and BMSs, but actually this is another very critical subsystem in the vehicle. This is what communicates and coordinates between all of the different subsystems, including the ABS, the motor controller, the battery management system, and it manages the core functioning of the vehicle. Now let's zoom in a little. This is the motor controller. This is what modulates all of the energy flow from the batteries to the motor and the transmission. I have a lot of interesting stories on the motor controller. So this is where we would optimize 0.1 second per week way back in 2018, where we started to become faster than every IC engine comparable. In fact, we spent a lot of time optimizing and tuning the entire drivetrain. And since then, we've had to do it all over again because the size of the battery packs increased, the capacity increased, the weight of the vehicle increased, but the performance still had to match up, right? So we've had to redo all of that work recently just to make this motorcycle as powerful as it was way back in 2018. In terms of the batteries, we've come a long way since 2018. What we have here today on the F77 has more than double the capacity that we spoke about in 2018. In fact, this gives us a lot of additional room to give flexible options on the vehicle itself. The battery pack comes with enhanced safety mechanisms which are spread across thermal, electrical, electronic, software, and the mechanical members which deal with any kind of impact. We recently had our battery day where we spoke a lot about these batteries, so I'm guessing you've heard quite a bit already. Let's come to the other interesting part, which is the kind of modes that we can now enable with this kind of motorcycle. So we have 3 different modes of riding. The first is called the glide mode. It's more relaxed. It is optimized for range. The second is called the combat mode, which is my favorite mode in the city. It's very aggressive, very powerful. And the third, that's called the ballistic mode. It's like riding a missile. And in fact, it comes with warnings attached. We've been riding these bikes for a few years now and we absolutely love it. And now it's your turn to be part of the ultraviolet future.